Shavua Tov, Guten Woch. I'm going to tell the story number 13 from the Shibchei Habesht. And this is the last of the stories that the author of Yaakov Yosef of Polenai, the Tiferes Yaakov Yosef, heard directly from the Baal Shem Tov. There are many stories that he heard and he compiled. The book has over 200, but this is the last of the story, and it's a particular important one. It's the last Shabbos before and the time when the Baal Shem Tov was revealed as a tzaddik, as a tzaddik nistar, as a Baal Shem, as the Baal Shem Tov. So up to now, the Baal Shem Tov pretended to be a commoner, an ignoramus, somebody who even gave his brother-in-law, his sister's brother, the misgiving that he was such a common ignoramus, little person, that Rav Gershon of Kitov, his brother-in-law, always was regretting that his sister had married somebody so low. He actually felt sorry for her. I have mentioned before, the Baal Shem Tov lived in this house that his brother-in-law had arranged in this town, and next to the town there was like a field next to a forest, and there he had a house for meditation, a house that he had built where he had a mikveh, and he would go there and spend time meditating, and Shabbos he would daven there and then come home. And he would dress these special white garments like a tzaddik, as people would, I guess, normally Yom Kippur, but he would dress every Shabbos. But he also, when he needed to pretend not to be such an important person, would dress more normal, every commoner's clothing. So when the time came close to the revelation of the Baal Shem Tov, happened that one of the Talmidim, one of the students of Moreinu Harav Gershon of Kitov, the Baal Shem Tov brother-in-law, was traveling to his teacher, meaning Rav Gershon, and he had to stop over by the Baal Shem Tov's house, and he actually ate by him. So in Yom Shlish, in Tuesday, he ate by the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov received him with great honor. And after the meal, he said, Yisrael, he calls him by his name, like a commoner, Yisrael, prepare me the horses. I want to travel to my teacher. And the Baal Shem Tov did so. He tied the horses to the carriage, and as he's bringing, he tells him, what would happen if you stay by us for Shabbos? Like, why don't you come and stay here for Shabbos? And he laughed. This Talmid of Rav Gershon laughed, took it as a joke. Tzchok. I'm going to stay Shabbos here. I'm going to my master for Shabbos, to my teacher. I'm going to stay Shabbos here. It's Tuesday. Okay, bye-bye. He had traveled about half a parasah, mile and a half, 2 miles, and something broke. He had to come back to the town to have it fixed. He tried to travel a second time and something else broke. I don't know if the axle or the wheel or whatever. He has to again pull it all the way back to the town and have it fixed. And so he couldn't travel that day, and then on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, until he understood he's not going to go to Quito for Shabbos. It would take too long and he cannot go on the road. So he has to stay there for Shabbos, and he feels great regret. He feels bad that he cannot go spend Shabbos by his teacher, Rabbi Gershon of Kitov. He comes by the house of the Baal Shem Tov, and he sees that the Baal Shem Tov's wife is baking. I guess they have outside the big oven, and she's placing into the oven 12 chalos, yud-beit chalos. Not 1, 2 chalos for Shabbos, 6, 12. He surprises himself a lot, and he says, why are you putting 12 chalos? And she says, look, if my husband is an Ama'arit, is ignoramus, common person of town, he's, he is a kosher man, he is a proper man. I once saw that my brother was doing so for Kiddush. He was serving 12 challahs, so I'm going to do that for my husband. Okay, so he says, listen, I have to spend Shabbos here. I couldn't go. Okay, do you have a place where I can shower? And she says, yes. Over here we have, by the mikveh, by our private mikveh, you have a place where you can shower. And he says, why do you have a Beis Tevila? Why do you have a mikveh? Look, my husband is a kosher man, he's a proper man. He goes every day to mikveh, especially before Shabbos. He still felt bad that he had to stay in that town and couldn't go see his master for Shabbos, to his teacher. So he showered, went to mikveh, and got dressed for Shabbos. And he had to daven mincha, and he says, and where is your husband? And she said, he's over there in the field, with the cattle and the sheep and the cattle. So he prayed mincha by himself, and then also Kabbalat Shabbat, Ma'ariv, and the Baal Shem Tov wasn't yet there. Baal Shem Tov was in that Isbodedus house, in that house of meditation, where he did his deep davening and prayer the way he did only by himself in his white garments. When he came back to the house, he changed to his normal Shabbos clothing, but he greets him in the language of the Gemara. This doesn't say good Shabbos in Yiddish, he says Shabbat Tatava, proper of somebody who is familiar with the Aramaic of the Gemara and of the Zohar, somebody who learns. And he tells to his oreach, his guest, oh, I see that you decided to do as I invited you to do, right? To spend Shabbos with us. And then Baal Shem Tov went to the side of the wall, to grab a siddur, and pretended to be davening Erev Shabbos, so that he would think the Baal Shem Tov is davening, he won't think the way he actually davens is special. So the Baal Shem Tov said to himself, if I were to make Kiddush the way I always do, with all the special kavanos and with the veikus, the attachment, to the marvelous veikus that I do to Hashem, he is going to see the truth. He's going to reveal, and it's not yet the time, almost, but not yet. So he gave the kavod, the honor, to his guests to do the Kiddush. They sat at the table and they ate, and the way that they do in the little towns, like a peasantry, the Baal Shem Tov sat next to his wife. And they sat with the guest. They ate the seuda with a great joy and simcha and goodness, but the oreach, the guest, still felt that he had a big tsar, a big heavy feeling in his heart. So the Baal Shem Tov said to him, Rebbe, would you honor us with would you give us some davar Torah? So it was the parasha of Shmot that week. So he told the Baal Shem Tov a simple story about what was like to be in Mitzrayim under the hand of Paro, Pshutoi, the simple way of telling the story, like you're telling a young child. And after the meal, they prepared the bed next to the table, and they went to rest. The Baal Shem Tov and his wife went to rest. In the middle of the night, the guest wakes up, and he feels that he's afraid that there must be a big fire in the kitchen, and the place where they cook. Maybe the beams on top caught fire, because there is this gigantic light everywhere in the house. So he goes to see, to look, and the tanur, the place where they cook, is fine, but there is a gigantic light. And this light is not the fire of the kitchen. It's not a fire as we know. But suddenly he sees this incredible light, and he feels he's falling backwards and he faints. The Baal Shem Tov comes and wakes him up and tells him, you just saw something you were not allowed to see. The man is marveled. He doesn't understand. In the morning, the Baal Shem Tov went to daven in the house of Fitbodedus, of meditation, the way he usually did. And when he came home, very happy, with great enthusiasm, he's like moving and dancing, and he sang the song Asad Sudasa, the poem for Shabbos day that the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, wrote, a Kabbalistic poem, and he made the Kiddush Rabbah in his usual way with all the veikus. And during the Seudah, he asked the guests to give the Avra Torah, so he gave also, he was a bit confused, and he gave a simple Pashut, the Avra Torah. The Baal Shem Tov says, oh, I heard a different Peirush. After the Seudah, he went back to the house of Itbodedus. After Mincha, he came back, and this time the Baal Shem Tov had a full revelation. He came with all the light of a tzaddik. Now the guest was allowed to see the truth. He gave a Davar Torah by the table, by Shaleshidas, I guess, revealing the deep secrets of Torah, Razin Deoraita, that no human ear had ever heard. And they daven Ma'ariv, and they Havdalah the way that Baal Shem Tov would fully do with all his might. And then he gave a Gezerah, he gave a decree that he should go to Rav Gershon and not revealed what he had seen. But when he went there, he did not reveal to Rav Gershon, but to the pious men of Kitov, and the Gedolim, the great sages, and to the Rav of the Kehillah, to Rav Moshe, he said, you have here, the Talmud of Rav Gershon, like he says, you have here, near your community, a great light. It would be proper that you go and you meet him. And they understood that this was the Baal Shem Tov, the man of these marvels. They had already, Moshe already had seen something there, and remember all the marvels he had already found. So they decided to go, a whole committee of them, to go meet him. And the Baal Shem Tov knew that they were coming, and he got in his couch with his horses, and he was coming and met them. And they met him by the Ya'ar, by the forest. They made a special chair from the woods. They raised the Baal Shem Tov on it, and the Baal Shem Tov gave them the Bretoira, words of Torah, revealing in full who he was. And this is the last of the stories, of the first 13 stories, that the author of the book, Yaakov Yosef Paul, and I heard directly from the Baal Shem Tov himself. May it be a week of marvels and revelations. Kutavoch, Shavua Tov.